First and foremost, all praises are due to Yahweh, Ba Hashem, Yahawashi, Ba Hashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone for teaching us the truth. Salutations to the brothers around the four corners of the earth who are teaching this word in truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect, a few men, women, and children that believe in this word. This is your brother Kawati Zabah coming at you again with another lesson. This one is entitled, The Blessing of the Sword Will Lead to Esau's Destruction. And we know Esau was given the blessing of the sword by his father Isaac. And those of us who are deep rooted in this truth, from elder apostle to her on down, we recognize through faith and through the spirit that Isaac, that was Yahawashi, okay? That was one of Yahawashi's previous incarnations. So the very blessing that Esau got, okay, with weaponry and nuclear missiles is going to lead to his destruction. All right, so Yahawashi gave essentially, okay, Esau the keys to his own destruction. Now, why was Esau given the blessing of the sword? All right, we know that Isaac, to give you a little background before we hit this scripture, Genesis 27 and 30, to give you some background, Isaac was very old, okay, he couldn't see, and he told Esau, go into the field and get me some meat, okay, and bring it back and prepare it, and I'll give you your blessing. In the previous, a couple previous chapters, we know that Esau had his birthright stolen by Jacob. He was tricked by Jacob out of his birthright for a pottage of lentils, all right? So Isaac said, go ahead and in the field, get me some meat, come back, prepare it, and I will give you a blessing. Now Rebekah, the mother, heard this, and she told Jacob, hey Jacob, I'm going to give you this hairy garment, put it on, I'm going to make some meat, some venison, and I want you to take it to your father. So Jacob listened, took the meat to his father, Isaac, who couldn't see. Isaac said, is this Esau? And Jacob said, yeah. And he felt upon Esau, who had the hairy garment on. As we know, Esau was very hairy. So Isaac, he couldn't see. He said, oh, this is Esau. So Isaac gave Esau his blessing, all right, through trickery, okay, by Rebekah. But really, essentially, man's comings and goings of the Lord, the story was written this way by Yahweh. Everything is being controlled by Yahweh. So this is how Yahweh wanted it to go. So essentially, Jacob got Esau's blessing, all right? So let's go start from there. Genesis 27 and 30. And it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. So the blessing that belonged to Esau was already given to Jacob by Isaac. And he also had made savory meat. So Esau took the meat that he hunted, made the savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. All right, so Esau said, I made the meat, I'm about to give my father this meat, and I'm about to get my blessing as the firstborn. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn son. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that had taken venison and brought it to me? Of course, that was Jacob. And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. So the blessing of Esau already went to Jacob, okay? All right? Because Rebekah said, hey, put on this hairy garment. I'm going to make some venison. You're going to get the blessing that was supposed to go to Esau. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry. So you can imagine the wailing cry that Esau gave out, okay? And he said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother, so Isaac said, thy brother came with subtlety, trickery, and had taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times, because the name Jacob means the supplanter, okay? And so Isaac says, let's read it again. Esau says, and he said, is not he rightly named Jacob, okay? Okay, now wonder his name is Jacob, the supplanter. For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he had taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? So Esau said, look, he done took away my birthright, okay, for a pottage of lentils. Now he's taken away my blessing. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. So he made Jacob lord over Esau, okay, with the blessing. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Okay, my birthright is gone. You gave my blessing to Jacob. So Esau continues. He says, bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So eventually Isaac said, look, I'm going to give you the power of the sword, and eventually you're going to take the dominion that Jacob has over you off of your neck. All right. So that started to begin when? That began during the time of Alexander the Great, okay, in First Maccabees, okay, where it says evils were multiplied upon the earth. That was circa 322 BC, okay, whereabouts. So that was the first taste of Esau gaining some type of traction, some type of power. And then, of course, the Romans came into power, okay? And the Hebrew Israelites were put under the Romans, just like Alexander the Great put the Hebrew Israelites under him. So the Romans came into power, okay, the Western Empire, and eventually they fell, you see, all right? They went down for 1,000 years. That's in Revelation 20:3, known as the bottomless pit, all right? And during that time, Europe and Esau, okay, was part of the Dark Ages. And Jacob, okay, the Hebrew Israelites, they were in rulership because the Western Empire, the Roman Empire, went down, but the Eastern Empire under Jake was thriving. The Byzantine Empire, the Moors, all through Europe, so on and so forth. So they were in control for what, 1,000 years. And then the scripture says that the devil, Esau, okay, will be loosed, okay, let loose for a short period, for a short season. All right, so that happened during when? A period known as the Renaissance, the rebirth. All right, you have Christopher Columbus, all right, who came to America. Okay, the New World, even though it wasn't a new world because you had our Northern Kingdom brothers there who were there, what, 722 BC? Okay, in North America and South America. Your Native American Indians, your Latino brothers, okay? They were already in the Americas, okay, already present, okay? But Esau came back into power, and it started during the Renaissance period known as the rebirth. So he was let loose for a season, and he is currently in power as well. And he's been given the power of the sword, weaponry, and of course, nuclear weapons that are going to destroy him in the end. All right, just to give you a little background of that, all right? So let's go back here. Let's read this again. And by thy sword, Genesis 27:40, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck, all right? And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Now Rebekah told Jacob to get out of there, okay, and go to her father, okay. but we're not going to get into that, okay? I just wanted to just let that, okay, just give you the background, of course, of why Esau, okay, got the blessing, okay? He got the blessing because, the blessing of the sword, because his original blessing was given to Jacob. And Esau, okay, the so-called white man, has had a perpetual hatred for us ever since, all right? So Esau wants to get back his birthright, okay? He wants that birthright back, okay? So the devil knows he has but a short time, Revelation 12:12. So this devil is doing everything he can to come after you Hebrew Israelites. He's going to use the power of the sword given to him by Yahweh in a time period known as Jacob's trouble, and we're on the cusp of that right now. You have Donald Trump with the federal troops in D.C. You have that going on. That's going to be a prelude for all the major cities for him to, to declare martial law, to lock the cities down, to bring about Jacob's trouble. Famine of food, race riots, civil war, all right? All these things have to be brought into a chaotic period of time in order for the elites of the Edomites, the international bankers, to bring about Revelation 13 and verse 16. Okay, the mark of the beast. You have to bring about chaos and make order out of chaos. So this devil Esau has had a perpetual hate for us, Jacob, the Hebrew Israelites, since that time where he lost his blessing, his birthright, and then his blessing. But all this has been what? Diagrammed and has been given to us by Yahweh. Everything is being planned by Yahweh. And this is part of our curses in Deuteronomy 28 from 15 on down to 68 for not listening to the Lord, for worshiping other gods, so on and so forth. So the Lord's only going to deal with a remnant of us. He's going to save a remnant. He's going to look after a remnant of the Hebrew Israelites who have come back to him in faith and sincerity. But 2/3 of you are going to be destroyed, okay, via the lake of fire on the day of the Lord, or prior to that, during Jacob's trouble, all right? He's not playing the Lord Yahweh. He's tired of you goddamn ninjas, okay, that don't want to comply, that don't want to hearken to this word, that want to keep doing wickedness, all right, who are wise to do evil, like it says in Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 22, all right? So all this has been scripted by the Lord Yahweh. So let's go to, like I said, Esau has a perpetual hate, and that's in Ezekiel 35 and 5, all right? He's had a perpetual hate for us ever since then. Let's go to Isaiah 54 to get a background of Esau being a master of weaponry. Isaiah 54 and verse 16. Let's get that. Isaiah chapter 54, and we have here verse 16, and it reads, it says here, behold, I have created the smith, okay, a weapon maker, that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. You see? So the smith is talking about Esau, a master of weaponry, who eventually invented what? Came up with the atomic bombs and now the nuclear bombs. So all that was given to him, okay, through the power of Yahweh. And eventually it's going to end up destroying him on the day of the Lord, okay, via nuclear weapons from Russia and the other nations, putting Babylon, America into a lake of fire. Let's get a definition of that word smith real quick. So we have here smith. Let's get it. This is the Hebrew translation of the word smith.
Strong's H 2796. Harash. Harash.
Okay, it says here craftsman, artisan, engraver. Okay, skillful to destroy. So Esau is very skillful in destruction, weaponry, okay, tanks, guns, and then eventually what? Nuclear weapons, so on and so forth. So that was his blessing given to him via Isaac in chapter 27 and verse 40. All right? And like I said, that blessing of the sword is going to lead to Esau's destruction via nuclear fire. Let's go to Malachi 4 and 1 for a precept on that. So we have Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. It says here, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, and we know Esau is very proud, yea, and all that do wickedly. This includes also 2/3 of our people that don't want to hearken to this word and have been wicked as well. Let's start again. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, the day of the Lord, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly, the 2/3 of our people, the Edomites that are here in Babylon, America, and the heathen nations that are here, shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. So that's speaking of thermonuclear weapons coming upon Babylon, America. And only the elect, the remnant of the Hebrew Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans here in Babylon, America, okay, and those that are spread out throughout the world, like the sand of the seashore, that have come back to the Lord in truthfulness and sincerity, only those are going to be saved out of this destruction. Only a remnant, okay, known as the elect. Let's continue. Let's go to Joel chapter 2 and verse 1 for another precept about these nuclear weapons. We have Joel, as soon as I can find it. Joel 2 and verse 1. Let's get that. And the title says what? The terrible visitation, okay, of nuclear weapons. It says here, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. So when it says, let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, that's talking about Babylon, America. It says here it's going to be what? A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. So that's speaking of, when it says a great people, that's speaking of what? An army of nuclear weapons coming towards Babylon, America, okay? Because we know the Lord Yahweh is known as what? The Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies. So he controls the heavenly armies and the earthly armies. And the nuclear weapons are going to be his army as well. So he's going to control the direction of every nuclear missile when it comes mainly towards Babylon, America. Let's read verse 3. It says, a fire devoureth before them, okay, because you're going to have nuclear warheads inside the nuclear missiles, okay, and behind them a flame burneth. That's the flame that's powering the nuclear weapons. The land, Babylon, America, right now, is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. So right now, everything is hunky-dory in Babylon, America, okay? The streets are paved with gold. It's almost like it says here, like a Garden of Eden, okay? But when these missiles come, it's going to be very desolate, total destruction. It says here, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. So when Joel the prophet seen the vision of the nuclear weapons, the only way he could describe them was as horses running together side by side. Verse 5 says, like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Okay, so they're going to be moving like an army of men, okay, in synchronization. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. Because there's going to be what? Millions upon millions of nuclear weapons in the skies, mainly over Babylon, America. So you can imagine the terror of people when they see these missiles coming upon Babylon, America. It says here, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Each of these missiles are not going to bump each other. They're going to be in total synchronization. They're not going to bump or jostle against each other, okay? The Lord Yahweh knows exactly where he wants them to go. So the story has already been written, okay? This story is going in real time. We're coming up on the end. Neither shall one thrust another, Just like I said, they're not going to bump each other. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. So there's going to be so many nuclear weapons upon Babylon, America. This place is going to be a total lake of fire. They're not going to miss any area, okay? The whole land, okay, is going to be burnt up by these nuclear missiles, okay? They're going to hit everywhere, through the windows, through the skyscrapers, in the mountains, in the valleys, so on and so forth. In every city. Let's continue reading. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark. And the stars shall withdraw their shining. Because these weapons are going to cover the whole sky. All right? Let's continue reading. Verse 11. Joel 2 and verse 11. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army. Like I said, these nuclear weapons are going to be the Lord Yahweh's army. For his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. And who can abide it? All right. So like I said, the blessing of the sword given to Esau will lead to his very destruction. Now, you're going to have some elites of the Edomites who are very rich, the international bankers. They're going to be hiding in what? Bunkers, in mountains, okay, in outer space. Eventually, after the fire dies down, Yahawashi is going to come down, okay, with the elect, because as these missiles are being launched towards Babylon, America, at that same time, Yahawashi is going to be coming down with the chariots of the Lord, with a myriad of angels, okay? At the very same time, the nuclear weapons are launched upon Babylon, America. Yahawashi is going to be coming down. And also, the chariots are going to be aiding in the lake of fire as well by shooting down laser beams, okay? So they're going to help the fire kindle even more. You see what I'm saying? So after the fire dies down, okay, Yahawashi and the remnant are going to fetch the elites of the Edomites up and put them in chains. That's in Psalms 149, in fetters of chains. All right? And then Esau, the elites of the Edomites, they're going to give birth, okay, to the rest of the Edomites through a thing called reincarnation. Just as the elect, the remnant, are going to give birth to the 2/3 of our people that are going to be destroyed on this side, they're going to come back in the kingdom through the loins of the elect. All right? So indeed, all of Israel will be saved pursuant to Romans 11 and verse 26. Just to break that down. All right? So the 2/3 are going to be come back through reincarnation. And then you Edomites, okay, who are destroyed in the fire or what have you, you're going to come back through the elite Edomites and be born through their loins. And you're going to serve for 1,000 years during the first 1,000 years of Yahawashi's dominion. And then after 1,000 years, you're going to be destroyed via being burnt the fuck up, okay, in fire. And that's in Obadiah, all right? Just to break that down. Let's go to Isaiah 34 for one more precept. Isaiah 34, as far as these weapons in the desolation of Babylon, America. Isaiah 34 and verse 1, and it says here, as soon as I find it, Salakia, Isaiah 34 and verse 1, it says, come near, is that it? Yeah, come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. All right? For the indignation, the righteous anger of the Lord, is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. All right? So that's going to happen during the War of Armageddon. In the Valley of Decision, World War III. He's going to gather Esau, okay, Babylon, America, and their allies, the European Union and NATO, and then Russia and their allies, Persia, okay, which is modern-day Iran, certain African nations, China, North Korea. He's going to bring them all in one place, all the heathens, okay, to bring upon them his righteous anger. You see? Let's read Isaiah 34 and verse 3. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. So that's speaking of the description that Isaiah seen of the nuclear weapons that make that mushroom cloud, okay? Like a scroll, you see? Let's continue. It says here, for my sword, the nuclear weapons, shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. So that represents Babylon, America. And upon the people of my curse to judgment. The Esau, the Edomites. Okay? You're the main enemy that Yahweh is going to come after. Okay? And your own weapons of destruction are going to be used against you. Isaiah 34 and verse 6 says, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, Babylon, America, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Same thing. Babylon, America. It's going to be one big sacrifice via fire. As we know in the Old Testament, sacrifice was made, okay, by goats and bulls and rams via fire. So it's going to be one big sacrifice here in Babylon, America. And that's going to cleanse the land, essentially, except for wild animals and such. Let's continue. Let's read Isaiah 34 and 7. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. Now we know the unicorn is speaking of what? The internet, okay? The satellites in the skies, okay? When it says unicorn in some scriptures in the Bible, it's speaking of the internet. You have the satellites and that little horn sticking out in the middle, all right? All those satellites are coming down, all right? Via nuclear weapons, so on and so forth, all right? It says here, Isaiah 34, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, in the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Let's read Isaiah 34 and verse 8, the NLT. For it is the day of the Lord's revenge, the year when Edom, okay, you goddamn devils, will be paid back for all it did to Israel. Isaiah 34 and verse 9, it says, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Total fire, okay? It shall not be quenched night nor day. Eventually it will come down the fire. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. But the cormorant, okay, the bird, the wild bird, and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also, and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it, okay, the line of confusion, and the stones of emptiness. So after the fire comes and everybody's burnt the fuck up, except for the remnant of the Hebrew Israelites, okay, the elect are going to be beamed up into the chariot of Yahawashi here in Babylon, America, and select elect throughout the world. But if you're not part of the elect, you're going to be burnt up in that fire. The only thing that's going to survive, okay, or make, do with that land is going to be wild animals after the fire dies down. Let's read Isaiah 34 and verse 12, the NLT. It will be called the land of nothing, and all its nobles will soon be gone. So no humans will ever inhabit the land of Babylon, America again, just wild animals. Let's read Isaiah 34 in verse 13 in NLT. Thorns will overrun its palaces. Nettles and thistles will grow in its forts. The ruins will become a haunt for jackals and a home for owls. The desert animals will mingle there with hyenas, their howls filling the night. Wild goats will bleat at one another among the ruins, and night creatures will come there to rest. So the very blessing of the sword that was given to Esau via Isaac, who was really Yahawashi in his previous incarnation, will lead to Esau's eventual destruction. So on that note, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi. I hope this lesson was edifying to you. Shalom.